that's why the music that came from there, sometimes we couldn't even tell that the singers were Congolese, including
Remi Ongala,
Remi Ongala and Karubandika.
Yep.
We didn't know that those were Congolese musicians.
So these guys had to go to Tanzania and they had to learn the language.
Actually, the process
the fact that the musicians were on payroll played a great part in developing Tanzanian music. So I remember bands like DDC Mlimani Park Orchestra even had tour buses.
Yes.
So the government was really involved in one way or another.
Congolese music was also very popular. Nowadays, people identify Tanzania with bongo, but this type of music that was imported from Congo was very popular at some point in Tanzania. So just briefly talk about that period when there was started being an influx of Congolese artists into Tanzania.
Well, at that time, I think what happened, because mostly it was jazz. So you see, it was Jiwata Jazz Band, it was Vijana Jazz, is either jazz or orchestra. And like I said, the influence of that with traditional music, adding strings and saxophones to it, and the messaging was the biggest thing, and songs about liberation. Remember Tanzania, the quote-unquote center for it, so liberation, Mozambique and South Africa and stuff, that really grew. And we only had one recording station, and that was Radio Tanzania, right? Which was different. Omosh talk about, the recording studios. Actually, this is how we even lost Mbaraka Mwinshe.
Yes.
Road
accident.
Yes, road accident. Went to Kenya to record, and then we lost him for that, because he was searching for that quality. If you listen to Mbaraka Mwinshe, he used to record in Kenya, and then you listen to Remi Ongala, who used to go to UK.
Right? I was a grown-up when I came to know that Remi Ongala was actually a Tanzanian. I never knew he was Tanzanian.
He was a Congo.
Yeah.
He was a Congolese.
Oh, Congolese.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so he was actually Congolese.
Yes, he was a Congolese. Related to
he was Congolese, yes.
Tonton Makase.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I meant he was Congolese. Yeah, I was grown up, because I always
most
knew
people
Remi
thought
Ongala.
he was from Songea, Tanzania, and he was not.
Yeah.
So those are the people who came in. I mean, Ndala Kasheba, and they brought string to Tanzanian music.
Okay.
So that was, I think this is when it became really, really popular. Like the book say, it wasn't until like 1991 when they started privatizing recording studios. That's when the MJ Studios and all these studios came in to life. But I think one thing that most people in TZ related to was the use of strings that they came with.
Okay.
If you watch people like Remi Ongala, it was very popular, and his 12 guitar, acoustic or Galatoni.
Yeah.
Who else? Baraka Mwinshe, Ndala Kasheba. Strings were the thing back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sasa, Jojo, going back to you, what was the main difference? Because Tanzanian music was also evolving. It had that influence of rumba. And of course, there was also an evolution in Kenya. And of course, we can see also on YouTube, DJ Banti is here. Thank you so much for tuning in, DJ Banti. DJ Banti is talking about the hype man, Mayoka Longo. And then evolving is the word, I think, talking about how that music has been changing. Now, this evolution, what was the difference between how it evolved in Tanzania, because Tanzania still had that foreign influence, but Tanzania kept a certain local touch where there might have been some difference on how it was evolving in Kenya. So talk to us, what really is happening and what are the differences between how this music is evolving. Apple, we are in the 70s, maybe going towards the 80s.
So in Tanzania, Julius Nyerere plays a critical role in the development of the music scene. Remember, the system here is socialist, and he needed to get to the people kwenye vijiji vya ujamaa kule. So a lot of times they used nationalistic music to get to the people. So a lot of the programming on Radio Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, was political. But they also introduced this music element so that people can be entertained. And they also realized that it's the best way to infuse politics and to reach the masses. So in Tanzania, there was quarters. I remember from the festival that happened in Kenya. Was it the Furaha Festival where Diamond did not perform?
Mm-hmm.
So later he talked about how music should just let whatever people like, let that happen. But he, like many other young people who have not taken the time to research, Tanzania protected its local music. And even the Congolese who came in had to sing in Swahili.
Yes.
Wow.
And they did not even pretend like the Congolese that came to Kenya with Batoto ba Nairobi.
Yeah, Batoto ba Mungu.
They spoke fluent Swahili.
Yes.
Okay?
Wow.
That's why the music that came from there, sometimes we couldn't even tell that the singers were Congolese, including
Remi Ongala.
And Karubandika.
Yep.
We didn't know that those were Congolese musicians.
So these guys had to go to Tanzania and they had to learn the language.
Actually, the process was you compose the music, you take to RTD, which is Radio Tanzania Dar es Salaam.
Uh-huh.
They will go through it.
Wow.
Yes, edit before you're allowed to record it. That's why there was very few songs that were not Swahili spoken. And I remember those were like liberation songs about like Nelson Mandela and other songs. Other than that, Niswa.
So it was enforced.
Yes, if you can sing, then play the instrument. Lakini hakukuwa na nyimbo nyingi za.
Okay, but sasa Bandio, at this time, before I come back to you, Jojo, hao watu wametoka Kinshasa na Wakongole wa Kinshasa hawazungumzi Kiswahili. Wao ni wasemaji wa Lingala. Wa Eastern Congo wanazungumza Kiswahili.
Yes.
So did they come and learn Kiswahili?
Most of them came from Swahili speaking.
Oh, so most of them came from the Swahili part, okay, of Congo.
Yes.
Okay.
Sikiliza wengi walikuwa wanatokea.
Okay, quite interesting. Jojo, back to you.
Yeah, and then the fact that the musicians were on payroll played a great part in developing Tanzanian music. So I remember bands like DDC Mlimani Park Orchestra even had tour buses.
Yes.
So the government was really involved in one way or another. The government and its what we might call parastatals in Kenya were involved in developing that music and sound. So there's the muziki wa dansi or Tanzanian rumba it sounds kind of like Congolese rumba, but it's more laid back. Kuna ule Uswahili, the coastal people like to take it easy. That element is in there. That's why you can distinguish Kenyan rumba versus Tanzanian rumba, because the Tanzanian one is more laid back and the messaging is more about life, advice about life. Waheshimu wazazi, nimemtuma sijui ni mshenga. It's more a lot about.
So there was social consciousness in their music.
Yes.
There was social consciousness in their music.
Yeah, so they transferred our traditional way of communicating through stories into the music.
Okay,
so if you listen to their music, it's a lot about advice and everyday life.
Kasongo,
Heshimu wazazi. So
salamu kwa wajomba, shukrani kwa wazazi.
Yes.
Shukrani kwa wazazi.
Yeah.
Na washukuru wazazi wangu. I remember Mlimani Park Orchestra. Well, that was one of the most popular songs. Even the love songs like Neema, and the other, si kama ile ati nikikumbuka silali, sikuli ugali, sijui nini. It's more advice, yani tabia.
Okay.
Heshimu wageni wangu wakifika.
Yeah, and and it's interesting because we saw that system of socially conscious music even move to more modern day artists, the likes of Professor J, and now in the bongo flavor, like you'd still see some. I mean, of course, things have been changing over time, but you'd still see, like that socially conscious music. You'd still see it with a lot of modern day artists.